everyone, this is Grandmaster Damian Lemos here for iChess. Welcome to this new video where we'll be covering the Knight BD2 variation of the Slav Defense. And we get this variation after the moves d4, d5, c4, c6, white plays knight f3, we play knight f6. So far, well-known move order for us, and here we'll analyze the Knight BD2 variation. As we said in the introduction, this is a subline, but still we need to study this, and as long as we know the ideas, we'll be just fine. White, he protects the pawn on c4, and he simply wants to, if possible, to do Defianchetto with g3, bishop g2, and then he kingside castles. So, as we know in the Slav, compared to the Queen's Gambit declined, we need to, or we want to, get our bishop c8 out. And here we'll do so by playing bishop to f5. Something that happens in the Slav a lot is that moves like bishop g4 are usually met with knight to e5. So we'll play a move like this as long as we pin the knight on f3. Otherwise, there's no point in playing this move because he plays knight e5 and we need to move the bishop one more time. That's not the idea. So a move like bishop f5 is much better. And then, if we are allowed, we'll play e6 next, and we get the bishop outside the pawn chain. So this is a great opportunity for us to finish our queenside development. And there is a variation, which is not the Knight BD2 one, but I think analyzing this is going to help us understand one of the key concepts of the Slav. When he has the knight on d2, his queen b3 ideas are not powerful. However, if he had the knight on c3, queen b3 is something we need to be careful about. So, just to put an example. Here, after knight bd2, we can play bishop f5. Let's say he takes, I take. Now, queen b3. This is not dangerous for us because it is easy to protect b7. We can play queen c7, even queen c8, bishop c8. We have all sorts of moves in order to protect b7. Now, let's see what happens if white has the knight on c3. Against knight c3, which is the two knights variation, and as I said in the introduction, this is one of the main lines. Here black has a lot of moves. This, a6, taking on c4, e6. Those are main lines, but you're probably asking what happens if we play bishop f5. Well, if we play bishop f5, now it's different. He takes. We are likely to take with the c-pawn. We don't want to lose control over the center, and now queen b3. The difference is, apart from b7, d5 is also under attack because he's got the knight on c3. Not to mention, he also has ideas like knight b5, so that is the main difference. Here if I play queen c7 or queen c8, he can consider taking the pawn on d5. And if I play a move like b6, well, I defend my pawn successfully, but I'm full of weaknesses on light squares, and this is a disaster for us. After e4, we take, he can play knight to e5, mating threat on f7, and after this, bishop b5 check, and he's definitely crushing us. We have no defense, and after this d5, and we're going to lose sooner or later, and probably sooner than later because we have the king on e8 and there's no way to castle. So why am I showing you these lines? Well, because we need to understand the main difference in the move order, and we also need to realize this knight bd2 white plays. It is decent, it is solid, but he's not playing an active move with knight bd2. He's not being aggressive enough. So after knight bd2, we can afford playing bishop f5. Against knight c3, then we need to play something else, because white, he's basically trying to take on d5 followed by queen b3. But we'll see this main line in future chapters. And now let's focus on knight bd2. And here we know the reasons why we play bishop f5. Remember, before we continue, if we play a move like this, we allow knight e5. We play this move if we pin the knight on f3, otherwise we don't. So, okay, knight bd2, bishop f5. And usually in this position, white plays knight to h4. This is the main idea when white plays the knight d2 system. Other moves are not dangerous. If he takes, well, we usually take with the pawn. This actually gives us a free square for our knight. If we play knight c6, we'll have a much better position, because we have ideas like knight b4, we have the c file, and our knight on c6 is much stronger than his knight on d2. I mean, it is easy to realize that. So c takes d5 is not part of white's strategy. So knight h4 is the main move. Queen b3, well, here I don't like playing b6, although I could, but queen b6 is much better, even queen c7. But I'm not afraid of trading queens off. This is something that we'll see in a lot of Slav lines, this queen b3, queen b6 confrontation. And the key is, if he takes, then we take with the pawn, and suddenly we have an active rook. The rook on a8 is playing. We haven't moved the rook, but the rook is already playing, and we have a serious initiative on the queen side. White, in the meantime, he doesn't have targets, he doesn't have a strong development, and, well, if we can try knight a6, knight b4. That would be awesome, even if he plays a3. I'll play this, and knight b4, he cannot really stop it, because rook a1 is hanging, and he cannot play rook b1 either, because my bishop is on f5. So yeah, this position where we trade queens off is good for us. And well, we are lucky to see this position, because we can learn a new concept, which is a key concept in the Slav defense. When we have queen b3, queen b6, there is a move white can play, and the move is c5. And now we need to be careful. When he plays c5, he's waiting till we take on b3. Of course, previously we had that powerful rook on a8. Well, here it is the opposite. He'll take with the a pawn, and now he's the one with an active rook. So we are usually trying to avoid positions like this. They are playable, but imagine we play something like this. He plays b4. He's got a lot of play on the queen side. I mean, despite queen side being closed, he's got more space, a lot of room for maneuvers, and we don't have any ruptures there. So I don't like taking on b3 in general. I mean, we have exceptions, of course, but usually when he plays c5, we are happy to go back to c7. And now you're probably saying white won a tempo. Sure, but that position is not the same. Previously he had the pawn on c4. He had an open center. Once he plays c5, we are happy to go back, the center is closed, and that allows in the future an e5 rupture or even b6. And suddenly we have a lot of ways of opening the queen side. That queen on b3 is not doing much, and I like the e5 break. I mean, b6 of course is part of our strategy, but I'll play knight b7, one day I'll play e5, and both d4 and c5 pawns are under attack. This is a great position for us. It's like when he plays c5, he's active for the time being, but it's like he's killing his queenside chances because he can no longer take on d5. So one more time, and I think this is a key concept to understand, not only in this position but Slav in general. Queen b6, queen b3, queen b6. If he takes, we are more than happy. And if he plays c5, we are not taking, we go back to c7. And then the center is closed and we have ruptures. This wouldn't be possible if he had the pawn on c4, because this move is always a possibility and we wouldn't want to open the c file with the king on e8. So after bishop f5, knight h4, we'll start analyzing this move in a minute, but before we start analyzing that move, I have to say that if white plays e3, we can play the safe e6, and this is also what we are going to do in the main line. The thing is, if white plays natural moves, then we can play bishop d6. We place the bishop in this diagonal. There's no need of playing bishop e7 because there's no bishop g5, so bishop d6, castles. I can castle as well, knight bd7, and we are playing a position where both bishops are out, and I'm talking about bishop f5 and bishop d6. Meanwhile, white, he still has his bishops inside, so I don't think white has any advantage. We are talking about an equal position with chances for both sides, but black's pieces couldn't be better. I mean, if I could add a move, I would say h6 and then my bishop, and I can hide my bishop on h7 in case he wants to play knight h4. But talking about knight h4, if he plays e3, I mean, if I want to keep my bishop, I can play h6 right now, and then bishop h7, but I'm not really concerned about knight h4. Because, well, if I play bishop here, he can just take it. If I play this, well, he could try trapping my bishop with f3 and g4, or queen b3, and once I play queen b6, h3, g4, and knight takes bishop. These are well-known possibilities, but here's the thing. After e3, e6, knight h4, I'm not playing bishop g4 nor bishop g6. I'm playing bishop e4. And this is different because if he takes that bishop, we could take with the knight. I mean, I think this is good. We attack his knight. We plan bishop b4 check. I mean, we have a lot of possibilities here. That king looks suspicious to say the least. But another move we have after bishop e4 is knight takes. I can take with the pawn. And only God knows how to find a good square for this knight. We have this move coming. And okay, yes, he can play this. I don't know if I have to play this yet, but that knight here looks ugly. No squares for this fianchetto knight. We won't see that often, but that is the main concept of this line. White, if he wants the bishop pair, he has to pay a huge price. And here, talking about moves, well, g5 is possible, but I think this is even stronger, as the ancients recommend, and then queen a5. Basically, we can try playing an endgame where our pieces are much better. We can also play with queens on board, because white has a dubious position, but this, I honestly love this for black. g5, h5, that knight is going nowhere, and yeah, white, I don't know how to say this, but that bishop, yeah, doesn't have good squares either. We have multiple ways of improving our position, the safest one being king e7, and depending on what he plays, maybe opening that position or not. But this is a risk-free endgame for black, and we clearly have a pull, an advantage in this position. So that goes after e3, which is a quiet move, but yeah, very possible move. I mean, most of your opponents are likely to play e3 here against bishop f5, but if your opponent studies the knight d2 line against the Slav, he's likely to play this move, because that is the main idea. And here is where we play bishop to e4. This is my favorite move. There's another move which is bishop to e6, and I also like this move because that knight h4 is in some sort of limbo, I mean in the corner, not doing much, and our bishop is not on c8. It's not like we are wasting a move here. The bishop on e6 is okay, we do attack the pawn on c4, and after e3 I can simply play knight bd7. I also like g6 here, trying to play it like this, but knight bd7, there's a game, Huseman against Rostein. This game was played in 2017, and you'll find this in the PGN files. White played bishop e2. Black decided to take on c4. This is possible as well, but I don't mind trading pieces off. Again, this, followed by bishop g7. I think black is more than okay. All of my pieces are doing something. That knight on h4 is not doing much, and I'll try playing c5 one day. It's like a Grunfeld position where white is not doing good things with his pieces. I mean, yeah, I don't find other words, to be honest. But yeah, black took on c4, knight takes, he played bishop d5. I also like this move. I guess black didn't want to stay with his bishop on e6, and by doing this he makes sure he plays e6. The bishop here is not going to be trapped, because worst case scenario I take this knight, or this knight when he plays knight f3. So this position is a nice one for black. White played a3. Here c5, okay, I can also castle and play c5 later. I guess after a3 he was trying to play b4. So that's why black played c5 first. And we are looking at an equal position. Probably black is a bit better because of my bishops. Clearly my bishops are in open and free diagonals, whereas white, yeah, the only good bishop he has is bishop e2. The other bishop, for the time being, is stuck inside the pawn chain. So yeah, this game, it was eventually drawn, but this is full of possibilities. These symmetrical looking positions, they look drawish, but trust me, we have almost every single piece on board. Anything can happen, and our pieces are ideally placed. Well, I don't know if ideally, but they are well placed. They are active. That is what really matters. So we see we have more than just one move against this knight d2 line. Bishop e6 is quite solid, but our main idea is to play bishop e4. We don't mind losing the bishop pair, but what we want is to white to play a position where his knight on h4 is not well placed. So usually white plays queen b3 in positions like this. There's another move which is e3, and actually we are like transposing here because we can play e6, and this is a position we already saw. White, he can play bishop e2. Yeah, he's not gonna take the bishop for obvious reasons. The knight doesn't have, well, he has to play this, otherwise he loses it. So yeah, if he plays e3, e6, here what we have to do is understand that position. There's no point in memorizing. Most of black moves are straightforward, simple. We get our pieces out. White castles. Black played bishop d6. Again, there's no need of bishop e7 because there's no bishop g5. And here we also have some attacking chances on the king side. For the time being, his defender, which would be knight f3, his defender is missing, so let's go and fire a kingside attack. So in this game we are following Pogosyan against Sadik. White took on e4 and black decided to take with the pawn. And as we'll see, yeah, this is only move, and then black found the right moment to start fighting with g5 and h5. We still have the king on e8, so we can even castle queenside, and in practice this is super tough to defend as white. And still his bishop c1 is sleeping there, and white in this game he wasn't able to create any counterplay. So in this position, I love this move. This is our main idea. But even if we play something like this, I like black's position, because in the Slav, when we play positions like this, which yeah reminds me of a Dutch system, we basically got rid of bishop c8. If we had the bishop on c8, that bishop would be terrible, and here we got rid of it. It is a closed position. Knight pair is better than his bishops. If that position is open, then his bishops are better, but this is super closed, and knights, they are perfect. And we even have the e5 square under control. White, in the meantime, I don't see how he's going to activate his bishops. So nice position for us. We have more than just one move. And now, after knight h4, bishop e4, we understand why white usually plays queen b3. And as you'll find in the BGN files, both queen b6 and queen c7 are possible. And it's up to you. I mean, if you don't mind playing a queen-less position, then I think queen b6 is the move for you. If you prefer keeping more pieces on board, then queen c7 is the other option. Queen c7, this game would be Mamedyarov against Gelfand. Of course, you'll find this on the BGN files. And queen b6, honestly, this is the move I would play, because first of all, we are playing black. Equalizing is part of our opening mission, and here with the Slav we are likely to achieve so. And second, because queen b6, if he takes the queen, again we open the a file for our rook, and this is not a slight advantage, it is a huge one. white is quite passive, and usually we get a mobile pawn majority on the queen side. Like one day we can try taking on c4, b5, the knight usually. We have a lot of ways of improving our minor pieces. So queen b6 is, no, not b6, remember this. This was mouse lit, by the way, but it is good to know that b6 in positions like this, we usually create weaknesses on the queen side. So again, queen b6 is my choice. And remember that if he plays c5, we are not going to take, because then he opens the a file for him. So after c5, we are safe and sound with queen c7. His center is closed, and we are the ones opening that position when we consider it. Whenever we think it's good, we'll play e5 or b6. And again, white is losing all of his power in the center. So after queen b3, this is the move I recommend. And I found a game where white took the bishop. Now, yeah, we can take both ways. To be honest, in this position I like knight takes e4, because we're trading too many pieces, and white, all of his pieces are on the first rank except knight h4, which is a bad piece. And now we have the a file, we have e6 and bishop b4 check. White could even have some issues stopping bishop b4. So yeah, in the game he played e3. If this, well, we can always take. This is not a huge issue because now we win more squares for our pieces. We have a very active position, we don't really care about double pawns. But after pawn takes, I can even play e6 here. And of course my idea is bishop b4 check. And then I take on f2 when he plays king d1. So I strongly recommend you watch this game. White played e3, e6 and bishop d3. And black ended up winning this endgame, where at some point, I'll show you a couple of extra moves, black got that pawn, the queen side pawn majority I was talking about before. Here knight d6, I like it. These 4 pawns, or even 5, they're going to advance one day. What I like about positions like this is that this is super easy to play as black. And his bishops, it's almost impossible to activate them. And if he plays a move like b3, here for instance, this is what I like about the Slav. My moves are, I don't know if they are easy, but they are not impossible to see. It is, we get activity out of nowhere, and we try exploiting small advantages. So after knight d6, well, what happened in this game is that white took, and if he plays something else, I think I can take, and then I can start playing positions where my pawns are on light squares. Bishop e7 is 100 times better than bishop d2, and I'm fully dominating on light squares. This is like my dreaming position when I play the Slav, and this is risk-free. So what happened, and this is one of the reasons why I like this game, Krishna, I think it's Krishna against Postny. Yes, and you'll find this on the database as well. Okay, white took, black took with the e-pawn, taking with the c-pawn looks a bit suspicious. We take with the e-pawn, and then b5, and then we continue advancing on the queen side. And our pawn structure looks much, much better than white's. And black eventually won this pre-endgame. And of course, Needless to say, the opening result was a successful one for black. So that's all for the knight d2 variation. A lot of concepts. Remember, there's no need of memorizing moves. What we need to do in variations like this, and in chess in general, we need to understand the ideas, and then we can try memorizing. But I mean, understanding is key in order to play an opening successfully. So I hope you found this useful. I hope you could learn something. And of course, I want to see you guys in my next chapters. Thank you.